Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and this is day 2 of Veda. Vlog every day in April. Didn't bring a drink with me, that was a bit of a no-no. Sitting in the garden because it's a lovely sunny day, and I thought I would try to do this outside unless the birds or dogs or whatever around have other ideas. So before we go on any further, I just want to give you a bit of an update on my solid twisted or mosaic granny that I've been making for my seat cushion, or my cush for my tush. This is the back. I decided to do it all just one colour because I've got quite a lot of this yarn. And the previous one, when I showed you it, it was kind of really curling at the sides and wasn't quite as straight. And I did say that maybe alternating the yarn might have had an effect on that. And I think it did, but this was doing it. It was actually doing that as well. So I've changed the corner. So now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, when I get to the corner, which is here, I was doing, in every corner I was doing 2 UK treble crochets, which is a US double, 1 chain and 2. Now it is harder to see it when you do it, but I've got one more to do, and now in my corner I'm just doing 1 UK treble, which is a US double, 1 chain and 1 UK treble or US double, and then going straight on to doing my front post stitches around my neck stitches. I can't go too far with this because I need to change yarn ball, but I just wanted to let you know that if you do that, if you just, instead of doing the 2, and I will pop a little link to this, but if you do that, then you get nice corners. You still get just a small amount of dipping, but it is a very small amount. But normally the traditional way is 2 treble, 1 chain, 2 treble. But if you drop it to just 1 with a chain and then another 1, you get a much better result. So that's my first thing. Sun's just come out, so we went behind a little cloud. So other than that, I thought that today being day 2, I'd just go and answer some of the questions. So I've gone through all of my, well, not all of my comments that I've got, but just some of them, and I've written a few down so that I can answer them. So my first one comes from Jane, who's Licorice's mum. She asked me how big my squares are on the granny tote bag. I'll pop a little link in the on here, just so that if anyone wants to make this bag, they'll be able to find the link. So I've measured them with a tape, and they are between like 4.5 to 5 inches across. So that's like a square of about 4.5 to 5 inches. So but it doesn't actually matter if yours are slightly bigger or slightly smaller, because your bag will just be proportionate, so it doesn't really matter. Excuse the glasses, but I'll be squinting otherwise, and that's not particularly nice. So thanks Jane for that one. And Karen asked, how many knitted items do I make, because you guys never see me knit. I haven't done any knitting for a while, and very noisy bird over there, and wood pigeon. I hope it's not distorting. I haven't done any for quite some time. The last thing I did was a scarf that I made for Sophia back in the winter. So it wasn't really that long ago, I suppose, but I did it as a knit crochet project. So the whole of the scarf, and I did it in King Cole Yummy and Funny Yummy, which is loopy. The Yummy is just like a chenille, but very soft. A little bit bigger and thicker than the James C. Brett. So I knitted the whole scarf, and at the ends I did crochet with the loopy yarn. So it had these like kind of nice bushy loopy ends to it. Worked out really nicely. I didn't do a tutorial for it because it's a crochet channel, so I haven't really put any knitting in it, but I haven't got my knitting needles here. They're at my house, so I was thinking the other day about perhaps knitting something, and I suddenly realised that I couldn't because I didn't have my needles. So I will do some eventually, I guess, but I can't at the moment. So Laura asked, how many pets do I have? Well, here, none at the moment. I'm quarantined away from my pets, which is quite a sad thing. Well, pet, because really, when I first started my channel, I had 4 cats, but 2 have since passed away, and one isn't really my cat. She just lives in my house. That's Buffy, and she's now Charlotte's, because since Mike and Gemma moved, she's adopted Charlotte. So I have one, which is a big fluffy black cat called Fluffy. It was not my fault. I didn't name her. My son Mike did. So I've just got one cat. But I would like to maybe get something here, perhaps some fish. Gary's not up on too many different pets, and I'm not kind of, I don't like to have needy pets, if you know what I mean. Ethan asked, would I consider doing a knitting or other craft channel? Possibly I would, but I'd need to up my game on it a little bit, because I can knit and I can knit quite well, but I don't really do it very often, and I think the most intricate thing that I ever knitted was a jumper for my son, pullover, sweater, whatever you want to call it. And I don't really, I knitted a little baby jacket when Harley was born, and he's 2, so don't really kind of knit as much as I crochet, but I don't really do any other crafts. I did think about doing some diamond painting, but I honestly don't think that my eyesight now is as good as it should be to do it. I used to have very good up close vision, because I had poor distance vision, and it's a compensation that you get. But then I had my eyes lasered, and it completely got rid of that, so I'd have to wear reading glasses to do it, and I don't like wearing them. They give me a headache anyway. So possibly. Lisa J asked how many kids and grandchildren I have. Well, I've got 2 boys who are men. There's a big humongous bumblebee. I don't know if you can hear it. It sounds like it's this big. It's coming my way. Hopefully it'll leave me alone, unless it thinks I'm a flower. Yes, I've got 2 boys who are in their 30s now. I know I look like I can't really have a child at that age, I know. Anyway, Paul's the eldest, and he's got 2 children from his partner's previous relationship. So he's got Alfie and Bailey, who are 2 older boys, and he and Victoria have a son, and his name is Harley, and he was my first kind of grandson from my blood relative, if you like. Gary's daughter Charlotte, who I call her I call myself her wicked stepmother, and she always tells me I'm not wicked. But she's got Sophia, and she's 4, so I can, I was with Gary when she was born, so I consider myself nanny. So I'm Nanny Tracy to her. So yeah, she's 4. So that's Alfie, Bailey, Harley, and Sophia, and Mike and Gemma. Mike's my youngest son. Gemma's his wife, and they've got Tyler, who's 1. Well, he's nearly 2. And he's already started getting the tantrums, so that's cool. And he came and see me through the window today and had a little wave, but he just wanted to get down and play and run into the dirt road and get up to all sorts, so he wasn't there long, unfortunately. Leanne asked how many years I worked in the NHS, what I did, and would I go back. 13 years. I worked in the NHS, that's the National Health Service for those overseas. I worked for the ambulance service, and I worked predominantly as in dispatch. I worked as a response desk dispatcher for 6 of those years, 6 or 7, and that was really for the whole of Kent. And when a job would come in, I would look at it to see if it was suitable for a first responder, who were predominantly cars and bikes and air ambulance. But I also had many other resources. Any person who worked in any of the stations that wore a uniform was at my disposal, including the main bosses of the HQ. It didn't matter who they were, if they had a uniform on, then they went out. So I looked at all jobs that come in all over Kent and everywhere, and I dispatched the correct resources, but they also had different protocols. So they must stand down if it was a certain kind of job, or they went to those really urgent cases. We also had basics doctors, community responders, and all sorts of fire responders as well. They all came under me. If it wasn't actually 2 people in an ambulance, then I looked after them. So I did that, and then I worked as a dispatcher because they got rid of the response desk as it was, and we all had our own area, so we had all of our own responders regardless of what they were, and I did that for another 6 years, 7 years. So it was pretty full on. It was 12-hour shifts, days and nights. The last year I decided I didn't want to work nights anymore, 12-hour shifts. The rota was grueling and I'd done it long enough and I was struggling, so I dropped to part-time, and that meant I had to become a call taker, and part-time hours meant that you were there more often, so it really didn't suit me. So I eventually left and worked somewhere else. So that's where how many years and how long would I go back? I've often thought about that, especially at the moment when things are so pressured, but no, I don't think so. It's kind of relentless stress and pressure, and I think 13 years of that is more than enough for anyone. And although I miss it, and I miss the training, and I miss the people, and I miss the buzz, there were times when I felt like it would kill me. So just in some ways I think it's time to step off that kind of pressure, that kind of treadmill. So although I'd like to, in some ways, no, I wouldn't. Mandy asked, what am I most proud of crocheting? At the moment, this, I guess, because I didn't ever consider making anything like this, and I decided just to sort of get on with it and do it, and I loved it. And so I'm kind of most proud of that at the moment. And I think that's really how it is. Whatever I make now, and I've just made, I'm kind of proud of until the next thing pops in to my head. So I will be proud of my cush for my tush when I've done it, I guess, because it's a big project and for the home, and I quite like doing things like that now. DDJ asked, do I have any brothers or sisters, and if so, do any of them crochet or do any crafts? I've got 2 siblings, an older, they're both old, an older brother, he's 11 years older than me, and whether he crafts in any way, he used to draw, he used to paint actually. When I was a child, I was not allowed in his bedroom because he had oil paints. I was very good at it, very, very good at it. Snuck in there one day, and I wasn't allowed in there, but I was always intrigued by these little tubes. They look like little miniature toothpastes, and I was only little, by the way, and I snuck in there and I undid one and I squeezed this whole tube onto my hands and I rubbed it in, and then I realised I was a child. I didn't have anywhere to put it, and I was going to get told off. So the dog walked in. It was a white poodle, so I decided to rub it in her fur and wipe my hands on the dog. And then she ran down the stairs and my mum started screaming because she thought it was blood. And when she said, what have you done, what have you done? And I went, nothing, wasn't me. Covered in paint, so it obviously was. So she bathed Sherry, lovely she was, and she went pink. And my mum wasn't very happy, but I always used to say to her, a lot of people paid good money for a pink poodle. You got one for free, so just stop whinging about it. But I didn't say that at the time, I was too busy hiding behind the couch. My sister, she's 9 years older than me, and she can knit. I think she struggles with crochet. She'd like to learn, but she's had a stroke, only a miniature, like TIA. She had a mini stroke, but it stops her from remembering so well. So she feels like she can't do it now. But yeah, she's always been able. When I was younger, she used to knit quite a bit. Don't think she does anymore. Don't know if she does any other crafts though. She bakes all the time, if you can call that a craft. You know, she's always making cakes, and at Christmas I used to get a Dundee cake from her every year, but she makes quite a lot of Christmas cakes and Dundee cakes and gives them to people. So yeah, that's my brother and sister. Do I like dogs or just cats? No, I do like dogs. I just allergic to many of them. Seem that I'm okay with poodles because I think they're quite known as a hypoallergenic dog. And so years ago when I was a kid, we had a German Shepherd, and we also had later on a Jack Russell, and I seemed to be okay with them, not as bad as I would be now. So whether things have got worse for me allergy wise, but when Negan was at home, I used to give him a snuzzle and a cuddle every now and then, and I wasn't too bad with him, but I'm very bad with dogs. They really irritate my eyes, my throat. And I used to visit my sister, and she had a golden retriever. She still does, but the one that she had back then used to love people, and he would jump on my shoulders, put his paws and legs around you and cuddle you, and I used to come away from there feeling like I got the flu. He was a lovely dog. But so yes, I do like them, but I haven't got one, and I don't plan on getting any. Well, not if I do, it'd have to be a poodle. It'd probably be like many years from now. I find I don't have the time to devote to everything to do with the dog. Simon asks, what are my favourite crochet hooks? Ooh, I'm still looking for my absolute favourite. There are many that I've got that I've liked certain aspects of, and I'm still reviewing these, which are the Clover and More. I've done the Susan Bates. They were really good. So far they've come out on top. I'm still going with these, and they're very good too. These are the Clover and More, and the Clover Soft Touch. I've used those quite a bit. So Knit Pros and Tulip, but I'm going to do them a bit later on with the reviews. But I'll let you know which is my favourite when I've sampled them all. I've also got one furl, which I'm going to give a go to. So at the moment, I've got many that I like, but I've not yet found. And I mean, the Knit Pros are good, and so were the Susan Bates, but I can't say they're my favourite yet until I've sampled the others. So sorry if that doesn't really answer it. Keely said, what's my favourite yarn? Well, I think it's difficult. No, it's still too bright, even though the sun's gone in a little bit. It's difficult for me because mostly in the UK, the most prevalent yarn that you can find is a DK. So it's hard to sample unless you order online lots of other yarns, and I'm still ordering lots and lots of different ones, but I've really loved some of the 4-weight yarns that I've been getting. The Studio by Nicole was lovely to work with, and I'm really looking forward to using that Jaipur yarn that I've just bought, and the other one, Malaga, really want to use that, but I've got so many to try. But I'd have to say a nice premium acrylic at the moment and a nice soft cotton are my favourites, regardless of size. But DK and maybe a 4-weight, so it's a 3 and a 4. I've not really used many finer ones. I've bought some, so I'll let you know about them. But as far as a brand, I'm really still sampling them all. Lots to get out there, like cookies, like sweeties in a kid and sweet shop. Have I missed some? Where are we? Oh yeah, I'm on this one. Rianne asked, what is the best company to order yarn from in the UK? Still reviewing them, but I have to say I really was impressed by the Wool Warehouse. Deramores are fine. I've used them in the past, but I don't find them overly generous. The Wool Warehouse was far more reasonably priced, very quick with the order. Ice yarn was brilliant, but you have to order a lot. And the shipping is high, but the yarn price is really low, so it kind of works out comparable to the other yarns. But I'd say Wool Warehouse I've been most impressed with so far. It's a little unfair because Hobby were very, very good, but I didn't see them at their best because of this. Everybody's short of staff and not running at their normal capacity, so it's hard to say. But Hobby and Wool Warehouse so far have been the best. Sasha said, is Poundland yarn really good? Or from cheaper stores like Aldi, B&M and Pound Stretcher, are they really good? I think so. I've been really pleased with the yarns that I've used, but having said that, I am a bit discerning about which ones I pick up, especially in stores like B&M and Pound Stretcher. I will go in there and some of it I'll pick up and think no. Mostly Pound Stretcher. There's some variegated yarns, they don't even display a weight on them. A couple of times I have taken a chance and bought them and the colour's not been even. Having said that, I had Yarnspirations Caron cake. It was exactly the same, so can't really say it was bad for one and not the other, but and I guess, you know, they all have those faults every now and then, but I guess they're more prevalent in the cheaper stores. But I've never had a problem with a Poundland yarn, never. And I've never really had a problem with Aldi. I know some people have. Back in the early days when they were doing the yarn events, a lot of their yarns were just joined with a knot, but then they're chenille, so mostly that's how they are sort of sent out that way. However, over the years, the Aldi yarn event yarns have improved. I'd say their cakes are not the softest. They remind me a lot of the rougher Caron cakes. I bought a couple once and I couldn't believe that it wasn't as soft as I imagined. Having said that, I've had some that have been really lovely and soft. So, but the Aldi ones, they're kind of not soft. If you're looking for something that's baby soft, don't think about them. But a lot of the newer stuff that I bought from them has been amazing. I've really been impressed with it. So yeah, but be discerning. Have a good look and a good feel. Give it a good squish first. Sam, what was my favourite job that I've ever had? Well, my jobs in the past, I've not been known to stay in anything very long, until I worked for the ambulance service for 13 years. So I would have to say I must have liked it. Although it was something I loved to hate at the time, I must have liked it enough to stay there for 13 years, because up until that point, 6 months to 2 years was all I could really cope with. By then I was had enough of anywhere that I'd worked. So I'd have to say working for the ambulance service was probably my favourite job. I kind of worked for a Lifeline, and I stayed with them for 4 years, so that wasn't too bad. But and I only left because I had to have a job that had more content to it. And in a way, I wish I hadn't, but not that I regret leaving. In a way, I'd kind of done all I could do there. So the ambulance service, it was always new, always training, always exciting, never a dull moment, and always fun as well, believe it or not. We used to have good workplace banter, so that was good. And Dina asked, what's my favourite genre of movie? Wow. I like so many, but sci-fi, I have to say. Not necessarily just space, but things like I Am Legend, things that are that kind of movie. Yeah, action-y as well. I like action. Teresa said, will I make any garments soon? Yes, I do plan that. I'm going to make some summer bits, and I also want to make a skirt. So yes, watch this space. Sharon, can I make more bags? Yes, I'm looking to make some more bags. Almost at an end, you'll be pleased to know. Yeah, and looking to make some more bags. I've got at least 2 that I'm planning, at least. So they're in the planning, in the brain at the moment. Fiona said, how long have I known Gary? We seem like a lovely couple. Oh, thank you. I'd say about 6.5 years. This actually, the end of June this year is 7. So it'll be 7 years. No itching. Definitely no itching coming our way. And Stacey said, where was I born? I was born in London. Well, the outskirts of London. It's actually classed as Middlesex, but it's not. It's really in London. And it was in a place called Edmonton, which is near Tottenham. So that's where I was born. Moved when I was 11. Michelle said, what size hook and yarn do I prefer? It's kind of answered that already, but I prefer working with a 4.5. It's my actual, if I'm working on a DK, then I like that. 5.5 to 6 for a full weight. So those are kind of my favourites, the medium-sized, medium range, I'd say. Big fat hooks and very tiny ones, not so keen on. Carol asked that question too. And Vanessa, what do I do with my yarn scraps? I have given some to charity shops in the past, but I tend to use them for yarn scrap projects as much as I can. Last question, Sandy, do I raise money for charities or support any? Yeah, when I was at work I did quite a bit of that. We raised a lot of money for Macmillan, which is a cancer trust. And also I donate a lot of things to Demelza House, which is a children's hospice charity, and for the air ambulance. So funnily enough, that question was kind of in the Spring Fling. So there's links in the page of Spring Fling to those charities. Well, not so much the Macmillan, because that was new. So thanks for those. And this is day 2 of Veda, and I've got some little black clouds coming my way. So just a good job that this has come to an end. But I think it's going to pass anyway. It's been absolutely glorious today. Went out for a little walk down the road yesterday, so I might do that a bit later and think about dinner. The one thing about being on this lockdown, it's turned me into a bit of a Stepford wife, you know. Cooked curry yesterday. So there's been cakes, curries, pies, all sorts of things coming out of that kitchen. But I used to just let Gary cook for me because he was so good, but it's actually started to make me a little bit more stretch myself, that's the word. Bring out the old skills that I don't usually get a chance to use. So thanks for watching. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Mwah. I might do a live later, you never know. Bye for now.